Oh boy. Now I get to talk about Homecoming a little bit more.
Welcome to the 13th part of our 430,000 part series, Better Know a Speedrunner, Horror Month. Today, we'll learn more about Starwin. Starwin is a former fighting game champion who has since pivoted to speedrunning, with a particular focus on the horror genre. Among his notable titles, he's run Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, Dino Crisis, Dread Out, and a whole host of entries in the Silent Hill series, including Origins, Shattered Memories, Downpour, and Homecoming. A quick note before we get started, if you're a speedrunner yourself and you're interested in being featured in this series, hit me up on Discord or simply let me know in the comments below. Cole Starwin Johnson is a 31-year-old inside sales representative from Texas. When he's not streaming, you can find him learning new speedruns, watching second-rate horror movies,
oh come on, you're halfway through, just snap it off already,
or playing fighting games. From even his earliest memories, video games have been Starwin's first true passion. And that passion has only grown over nearly 3 decades.
My life has been filled with video games ever since I was 2 years old. I was born in 1989, but when I was 2, I have home videos of myself grabbing building blocks and hitting my head, calling myself Mario, because I loved video games that much. My grandmother was a huge inspiration when it comes to me actually becoming a gamer. She would play all the stuff that I would play. She beat Zelda 1 before me, which was insane. From there, growing up, I started playing RPGs like Final Fantasy VII, got into DDR, Pump It Up. Then I learned about fighting games. I started playing fighting games, going to tournaments doing that. And then now I just speedrun and play all the old school stuff. So yeah, my life was full of games and I don't regret it one bit.
The competitive spirit was in him long before he picked up speedrunning, and there's nothing quite like the raw one-on-one competition found in fighting games.
Before I started speedrunning, I actually was really big into fighting games. I started going to tournaments and stuff. It was around the Street Fighter 4 era. I'd always played fighting games when I was younger. It was one of the bigger things that I cared about throughout my childhood. Played like Mortal Kombat and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fighting games all the time when I was younger. Then Street Fighter 4 came out and I was like, oh man, I'm going to start taking this seriously. And for a large portion of my 20s, I went to fighting game tournaments. I played Street Fighter 4, Injustice, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, anything. And I've placed in multiple tournaments, but I won one big tournament in Cross Tekken. And then I won multiple tournaments at anime conventions, but winning tournaments at anime conventions is a huge meme. But the main reason why I quit fighting games to go to speedrunning is mainly because fighting games were just lacking what I enjoyed before. Like, they were making them easier and it just wasn't as fun. And I chose speedrunning as the next choice in my string of hobbies, mainly because fighting games and speedrunning are incredibly similar. It's a mental battle with yourself. Can I do this? Can I learn this? And it's all about bettering yourself in the end.
Starwin's introduction to streaming was almost serendipitous, and with a very generous offer from a friend, he decided to stream what he knew best.
I actually decided to start streaming when I went to a Street Fighter 4 tournament in a town about 2 hours away from me. One of my friends after the tournament ended up giving me a AverMedia Live Gamer portable. And I was like, oh snap, like, you don't want me to pay for this or anything? He's like, nope, all good. So he gave me that. And then I started streaming just Street Fighter 4 primarily, just doing some online matches here and there. And after a while, I ended up picking up speedrunning. So I ended up picking up my first game, which was Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, New and Tasty.
But before streaming speedruns himself, he of course spent a fair amount of time watching others collecting red, green, and gold splits. As it turns out, there was one runner in particular that inspired him to run the types of games that he does today.
I watched a lot of Super Mario 64, and I watched a lot of Mega Man, like Mega Man X, just because those games were just such a big part of my childhood until I came across Carcinogen SDA. Carsey plays, Resident Evil, a lot of spooky games. He did Parasite Eve, and I had always been a huge fan of horror games, but they weren't really like the biggest part of my childhood. But there was something about Carsey,
fucking Christ,
just like the way he engaged with his audience and the way he played through these what I thought were incredibly difficult games so well. And from there, I decided to pick up speedrunning.
One of Starwin's first proud achievements wasn't in a horror game per se, but the game is not without its dark subject matter and gory death animations.
I was like a big router for Abe's Odyssey, New and Tasty. And that was my main focus for so long. And just getting any kind of PB excited me. I think I was trying to go for a sub 119, ended up getting like sub 118. While I'm not super enthused, it may not look like it. It definitely was a big moment for me, for sure. Just to see how much work I've put into something and then it all come together.
We were going for sub 119. We got sub 118. That's awesome. Super hype. God, that's awesome.
A few short years later, Starwin was able to take what he learned in Oddworld and present it to tens of thousands on the GDQ stage.
I had submitted Abe's Odyssey New and Tasty 2 previous times and I got rejected, mainly because the first time I submitted it, I didn't have the optimal way of actually recording any kind of video. I was still streaming off my PS4 at that time, and I only submitted a level of me doing really well in one level of that game. So of course I got rejected. But in SGDQ 2016, or that summer of 2016, I got accepted. And that was like my first big marathon. Honestly, when I think about it, I don't think I did any online marathons at that point either. It was like, that was the first time I felt like, yes, my hard work paid off. I can actually, do this.
But when it comes to proud achievements in the realm of horror speedrunning, Starwin remembers the pain and torment he went through while trying to get a sub 30-minute run in everyone's favorite Silent Hill game.
I actually started picking up horror games and I picked up Silent Hill Homecoming. Homecoming was the big focal point of mine for about 2 years. I played that game every single day, just trying to get a better time in it. And it's a really difficult game. Not as much now. It's a lot more accessible just because of things that have come to light. Back in the day, man, the strats that we had to deal with made that game incredibly annoying to run. Basically, I was trying to get a certain time for about a year and I ended up doing it. And after that, I stopped playing the game for a while.
Oh, yes! It's over. It's finally over. Not a 29, but a 28. Oh my god, at 28. Oh my god, that makes me so happy.
When asked about difficult strats, Starwin harkens back to a time when pistol clipping in Silent Hill Homecoming was as nightmarish as the game itself.
So Silent Hill Homecoming has this really broken glitch where if you have a pistol, you can clip through walls. Some Silent Hill games have clips and they have things like that that can skip parts of the game. Homecoming, you can beat the game, I think, in under 25 minutes. Now, back in the day, the main way you did clips was you would aim your gun, let go of aim, strafe one direction, aim, let go of aim, strafe another direction. You'd go back and forth doing that against a wall. And eventually you'd get pushed into the wall. And the main reason it works is because the main character, Alex, he actually moves when you aim the gun, moves forward. So you're actually forcing him to go into walls. And when I was first learning Homecoming, there was a handful of runners. There was Parallax, there was Dead Robots, there was UFO Techie, and there was no guides on how to do this. There was one video, and I had to learn from just watching that video. I don't know what he was pressing or what he was doing, but it took me like a couple of weeks to figure out how to exactly clip. And from there, once I got it down, then it was just a snowball. Started learning all these different things. And then now, a few years later, there's a new method of clipping that's way easier. So if you want to pick up Silent Hill Homecoming, you don't have to worry about that. There's a lot easier ways of clipping. And there are guides for this now. I made guides back in the day, but there are more updated guides thanks to Schmumbler, who is the current world record holder for the game. Definitely worth a try if you'd like a spooky game that has a lot of glitches.
In order to build a following on such chaotic platforms as YouTube or Twitch, Starwin feels content creators ought to focus on bringing a little more order to that chaos.
If you're a streamer or you're a YouTuber that uploads videos, the only thing you need to worry about is being consistent. If you're a YouTuber that only uploads sometimes, try uploading every day. If you're a streamer, keep a consistent schedule. If you're a speedrunner, definitely when it comes to Twitch, YouTube, streaming, videos, whatever, be consistent. And I'm 100% a hypocrite because I do not do that. And I'm trying to get better at it. It's definitely easier said than done. And sometimes you just don't feel like it. And that happens to a lot of people, but don't get discouraged. You can always come back. There's always a chance for people to come back and do what they love.
One of the greatest things about speedrunning is the hobby's accessibility, and for anybody with fingers and eyesight to potentially dominate a game. In closing, Starwin has some sage advice for anyone watching that has a desire to speedrun, but may be holding back due to insecurity or the apparent futility of competing against the best of the best.
When it comes to actual people wanting to learn how to speedrun or wanting to stream, all I can say is do it. Just Shia LaBeouf it. Do it! It's a lot of fun. There's no reason to be intimidated by anybody. There's so many good people in this community. Join any gaming Discord that we have. Join the Silent Hill community. Join the Resident Evil community. Mario, Zelda, it doesn't matter what. You have a game that you love and you want to speedrun it, there's a community out there for you, 100%. People get intimidated by the competition of speedrunning, and they shouldn't. While competition is a good thing, and I love me some good competition, just because a run, and I'm going to use Super Mario 64 for an example because it's just a game that takes a lot of technical skill. Just because the world record is so far beyond your reach doesn't mean you shouldn't try. If you love Super Mario 64, play it, learn it. Everyone had to start from the bottom. Everyone started from the bottom no matter what. You could be that person that climbs to the top. If anyone ever tells you, oh, that game's too hard, it's not too hard. It's too hard for them, but it may not be too hard for you.
Before we go, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Starwin for taking the time to answer the questions for this feature. You can find links to his Twitch channel and Twitter in the description below. Don't forget to give him a follow. I hope you enjoyed today's Better Know a Speedrunner. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up. As usual, I'd love any and all feedback you may have, so just leave it in the comments below. The entire month of October is dedicated to highlighting horror game speedrunners, so hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss them. Finally, special thanks to our super generous Patreon supporters, Totally Not a Mimic, Happy Code Monkey, and the Grogster. And if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next run.